how did COVID-19 affect your work as a simultaneous interpreter?
I think that my answer is going to be a little bit unfair, like to the community, and I even feel guilty about it because it's been great, personally wise and professionally wise as well, because it just opened up the world for me.
I would say that there were different phases in the way it affected me. There was the first phase, it was like the beginning of March. Every event, or all the events up to May, June were canceled. Every day I was receiving phone calls or emails from my clients. It was really, really worrying. Both months of March and April, I had nothing, no work, so no income, nothing. What I'm going to do right now.
So I used to travel quite a lot and also work from home remotely. And then all of a sudden, I only work from home. And there was a brief period of time, about a month, where there weren't really any online conferences either. And I think that was the period where everybody just had to adapt and get everybody set up at home to be able to do remote meetings and remote conferences.
The earliest cancellations arrived in late January, and those were mostly international events. Serviced my last in-person event on the 3rd of March, and on March 28, strict lockdown was announced in my hometown and life was brought down to a halt.
Then in the second phase was starting in May or June 2020, because of the global and remote home office. Finally, the RSI request was higher, and the corporations had to get their meetings and have to restart their activities. I think that they considered the need for interpreters to be able to work remotely as a full condition for their activity to recover.
And then I have to say that I personally had more interpreting work than before, because all meetings had moved online, which means that it didn't matter anymore where you were based. And I'm based in Manchester, so there are more conferences in Brussels, for example, than there are in Manchester. So they would just get an interpreter based in Brussels for a Brussels conference, and then many of my clients could send me more work because everything was online and I was able to do a lot more than I did before.
I've been working as a conference interpreter for over 20 years now, and in remote simultaneous interpretation for around 5 years now. But it was like, on occasionally or once or twice a month I had an RSI event, and now it's just, every single day.
I was visionary enough to have completed the onboarding process with Interprefier team by that time, so I did not suffer a long break of work.
Since June, I would say that there was an increase in the work. And so in the end, it was a positive effect, or it affected the activity positively, well, thanks to technology. So sometimes with some colleagues, we are talking about that, and we just try to project ourselves with the same situation like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that it might not have been possible because the internet speed was not as high as it is today. So finally, thanks to the internet and the very high-speed internet, we could respond to the situation. So after this period of concerns and worries, finally, I would say that I feel pretty optimistic. Well, I don't know how the events, if by the end of the year, the events will go back as in-person or on-site events, but I think that RSI will definitely be not an option, but a choice.
I hope the vaccine works, but I really hope I continue to work remotely. And now it's just, every single day, and I'm really happy. I was not aware of how much I loved working at home and working from home. So it's really been amazing. There are no longer borders. And although we been living in a global environment for so long. Now that actually you can access interpreters from Brazil, from Spain, from Portugal, from all over the world, just bearing in mind the different time zones, that's perhaps the only issue. But other than that, it's been really, really great. I'm super grateful for being an interpreter in these times.